Hi everyone, and welcome back out to Harvest Hills Ranch. Alright, you've been doing some exercise, you've been getting more comfortable with the movements, you're starting to feel the movements a little more, you're beginning to know which muscles are contracting as you're doing these exercises. Well, hey, you're ready to take that next step forward, and today that's what I'm going to be sharing with you. Hey, I am Dr. Arland Hill, and I have a passion for all things nutrition, health, and wellness related. And I want to help you get more out of your exercise routines, especially if you're just getting started and trying to figure out all the different aspects, all the things that you look at and see related to exercise. Put it all together. I'm giving you a process of how to go about doing that. So think back, we've been talking about in the past, I've shared some information about doing body weight exercises, and I think that this is a fundamental starting point simply because it allows you to understand how to move your body and the exercises are overall safe. Well, today what we're going to be taking a look at is how do you move up from that? And today I'm going to introduce to you the bench. And so simply we're just going to take a flat workout bench, and I'm going to show how to create more challenging exercises. These are not what I would call by any means advanced exercises, but they are certainly fundamental exercises that regardless of where you end up in your workout progression and your exercise comfort, you're going to find that these are exercises that you continue to use and implement cyclically in your routine. So what I'm going to do is walk you through these exercises. Today we're going to be we're going to focus on the lower body today. We're not going to implement anything with the upper body. Everything today is going to be targeting the lower body. And I want to make one comment on this. If you're hesitant about getting a bench and bringing a bench into your home, then start looking at what you have around your home that you may be able to use to mimic what I'm going to share with you. You may find that you can do some of these exercises with a chair. You may be able to do some of them simply with a step-up stool that you have around your home to reach things that are higher up. You can do these maybe on the couch or on the edge of the bed. So just, if the bench isn't accessible to you right away or you're not ready quite to pull the trigger on that, hey, don't let that impede you. You can still move forward even without the bench. But I want to use the bench to illustrate everything because I do like it. It is a solid platform, and just the size of it and the structure makes it good and stable for doing the things that I'm going to be sharing with you today. All right, that's enough as far as giving you an introduction. Let's jump into these exercises here. So let me walk you through each one of these one by one, and you're going to see, all right, if I implement this in, I've got a good diversity of additional exercises that I can use. So let's go. The first exercise that we're going to take a look at is the step up. And it's just as the name sounds, it is simply a step up. Now, I do want to say as I'm getting started with you here, the bench that I'm going to be stepping up onto is 17 inches, I recall is what the height on this bench is. If you find that you need to start with a lower step, hey, get a step stool. You can even go out and do this on the stairs around your home that you have. Anything that is a modest step up will work for what I'm getting ready to share with you. But all we're going to do here is we're just going to put that foot on the bench and we're just going to step up and then back down and again. Then step up and back down. And you're going to, wherever your hands feel comfortable, neutral, and balanced. And what you're going to notice when you do this exercise, it may feel as though, or it may look as though a lot of the motion is going to come from contracting the quads on the top of the leg, on the front portion of the leg. But in reality, what you're going to find when you're doing this exercise is that there's a lot of glute activity that is kicking in and also into the hamstrings. So don't be surprised if you feel that. And again, when you step up, especially if you just come right here and you were just to hold that, you would also really feel that those glutes would be kicking in when you hold that motion. So let me demonstrate that from the other side as well. So again, neutral positioning here, you come up and you can feel the hand or the quadriceps up here on the front portion of the leg contracting, but you can really get in there and feel that glute and these hamstrings that are firing as well. And so that's a great way to begin to implement in the bench. And again, just up, take a step up, and then you can slowly control the release back down, or what's called the eccentric contraction. You can slowly control that back down and get a different feel for the workout there, or use that as a way to increase the intensity. Now, what I like to do with these, and there's different ways you can do this, so you could do one leg at a time and alternate these back and forth, so you could do right leg, left leg. Nothing wrong with doing that. I have a preference, however, of doing these one leg at a time. And the reason I like to do that is because it's more challenging for you to do it that way. You're challenging those muscles because it's just simply longer time under tension. But the other reason I like doing it this way is when you start to fatigue that muscle, you can begin to notice where your weak points in that muscle are. So for example, you step up and you're coming back down, and maybe your leg starts to go in, or maybe it's going out. Whatever direction your leg is going, you'll notice that. And that becomes a cue for you to start taking note of, okay, I could have a weakness here. I'm not just going up and down. So you can see just on this, it should just go up and down. But if it's starting to bow in, or if it's starting to bow out, that's an indication that there's something there that we need to be working on. And if that leg is bowing in, that's probably a weakness in these glutes. And doing this exercise is going to be extremely critical for you to include into a program along with some others. But this is a great first step, no pun intended. So we've got the step up, so let's keep stepping forward, and let me show you the next exercise that you can implement in with the bench. In the prior exercise, we were using the bench to step up on. In this exercise, which are known as split squats, what we're going to be doing here is using the bench as a stability point for us. Now, all we're looking to do with this, so it's a split squat, and you'll recall from, if you look at any of the body weight videos that we shared with you, in those body weight videos, one of the things that I recommended was a single leg squat. This is going to be very much like a single leg squat, only you're going to bring the rear leg, the trailing leg, is going to be on the bench. And so you're just going to take that foot and rest it across the bench. And what we're going to do here is focus our weight out on that front leg. Just like that. Now, when you do this, there's a couple of different things you can do to change this a bit and vary what muscles are doing the most contraction here. So when I'm in this position, if I'm leaning more out and really getting the toes out over the knee, in that scenario, we're going to bring in a bit more of the quads when we do that. Now, if we come back a bit, we're going to find that we've got some good hamstring and glute back here. And one of the other things that you can do as well with this is you can just let that leg that's back, you can just simply let that leg trail and just ride up and down. Or as you're going through that movement as well, the other thing that you can do here is, if you need to, especially getting started, is think about taking that leg and extending it out as it's on the bench. Now, you can take that, and the motion is not so much coming from the extension here, it's actually coming from the flexion at your hip if you're using this as an assistance as you're getting going with this exercise. Now, again, this is predominantly focusing on the forward leg. So again, just looking at this demonstration here. And you may find that when you get into your later reps of a set, let's say that you want to do a set of 15, and you get to around rep, say 13, 14, 15, and it's getting pretty difficult, you may find that you have a bit more desire to contract that trailing leg along with the forward leg. But again, the forward leg is the one that we're truly focusing on with this exercise. And this will be a good one to create balance and stability. This is the first one where we've looked at introducing the foot coming off the floor. You've only got one point of contact with the floor. And so there is going to be more of an element of stability when you do this. If initially you need to hold on to something to increase your balance there, that's okay, but that's not where we want to end up at. That we want to progress away from that, and we want to become much more efficient at just being able to balance on that front foot and even eventually pull the bench away. But for the purposes of this exercise, we want to be able to keep that front foot planted and feel nice and comfortable, not feel like we're going to fall over one way or the other. And as we go down, we want that leg to be nice and straight going forward. No deviation to the inside, no deviation to the outside. Everything needs to be going forward with that. Then we can push back over. And then you'll notice one limitation that you may have with going down with this is that it starts to stretch pretty good. And once you get more comfortable with going down, it starts to stretch pretty good in the lower portion of the leg here where the calf muscles, the soleus and the gastroc, especially the gastroc, well, since the leg's bent there, it's going to be a little more soleus, but you'll find that those really start to stretch out. That can be limiting in part to your ankle mobility. And so if that's the case, just work on that over time. Keep pushing that and getting that stretch in there. And this is a theme that I want to share with you is, as you implement some of these exercises, you're not going to be comfortable with these. You're not going to be able to do these in the way that I'm demonstrating to you. You're not going to have the mobility and the flexibility. Don't give up on that. That will come with time and consistency, so just stick with that. But that's going to be your split squat, and that's a great one to keep in there. That's one of these that you'll find that as you start to implement weights, bands, other types of resistance, you'll find that this is one that can be a component to those exercises as well. You'll do this exercise, but you'll do it with the resistance. But before you add the resistance, you need to be able to do it with just your body weight. Okay, so now let's keep moving forward and let's see what we got next. Now that we've focused on the front portion of the leg and emphasized these quadricep muscles and also worked some of the hamstrings and the glute muscles, now what we're going to do is put special emphasis on that posterior side, those glutes and those the glutes and the hamstrings. And so let me show you one of the most efficient ways to be able to do that. What you're going to do is take your shoulder blades, and just bring your shoulder blades right to the edge of the bench. And that's going to be your resting point here. And from this point, this is going to look very similar to what we talked about with the glute bridge that you can do on the floor with just your own body weight. Now, you'll notice that the starting point here, if you're feeling that you're wanting to sag initially, that's a good indication that you need to be doing this exercise, because these glute muscles and these hamstrings are definitely not as strong as what they need to be. And so what we're going to do here is, initially I would recommend just having your pelvis nice and flat. So have almost an L shape, if you will. And you're going to hold that. And then once you feel comfortable holding that, you're going to start feeling the hamstrings contract, the glute muscles here are going to contract. But what we're going to do with these hip thrusters is, as the name implies, we're going to bend at the pelvis, bend at the hip joints here, okay? Right out here on the outer sides of the leg. You're going to bend at those hips, and then we're going to push back up. We're going to bend at the hip, and then we're going to push back up. And when you push back up, contract your glutes. That's what you're trying to do here. You're trying to squeeze your butt cheeks together. And if you're squeezing those butt cheeks together, you're going to find that these hamstrings are kicking in also. And by doing that,
what you start to do is balance out and strengthen a lot of these muscles that are typically not given the attention that they need to be given. If you are sitting for long periods of time, or even if you're an individual, when you go to pick something up, if you're always bending over to pick things up and you're not actually getting down and picking that up, you're not giving yourself an opportunity to contract these muscles. And inherently, as a result of that, these muscles become weak. And most people's glute muscles are actually underdeveloped. They're not using them for not necessarily just trying to get stronger, but to have a more stable body, to have a more stable pelvis that in turn has a direct effect on your spine. All of these factors play into your functional capabilities and your overall longevity. And so we want to include these hip thrusters in. I really think that you'll find if you get these in and you make these a part of your routine, you'll actually, as you go throughout the day, you're bending down to pick things up, and you come back up, and you're actually, instead of just popping your chest back up, or just kind of standing back up like this, actually bring your pelvis under you. So try to take your pelvis, you want to bring that chest up, try to take your pelvis and push it under you and fire those glutes, squeeze those butt cheeks together. And what you'll find is that it's a lot easier to do these things the more repetitively you do them. All of a sudden, you're picking things up that you're like, I couldn't pick that up before, which is ultimately one of the reasons that we're doing exercise anyway, is to increase our functional capabilities. All right, so that was the third. Let's keep rolling here and jump right into the next one. Now, I want to keep your attention as we continue forward here. So what I'm going to do is some of these next movements that I'm going to share with you are going to be variations of things that we've already talked about. Therefore, I'm going to move a bit faster through these. So let me show you, we just looked at the hip thrusters. Let me show you another way that you can do these. Just an easy variation to get started is get in that hip thruster position, and you want to keep that pelvis nice and flat. Well, you want to make sure that the ability to keep that pelvis flat is maintained even when you come up on one leg. And so what you'll do over time is start just working with one leg. And you may find that initially your pelvis wants to drop. Bring that pelvis back up, okay? You can hold that for a 15-second count, and then you can go to the other side. Do the same thing. And then you may find that you want to just do single leg versions of this. That's fine too. These are all all variations that you can implement over time. But as you're doing this single leg, just make sure that pelvis isn't rocking to one side or the other. We don't want that to happen. Okay? So that's your variation for the hip thruster. I'm a big fan of the body weight squat. Just being able to come out, do your own body weight, squat your own body weight with proper biomechanics up and down. Now, what if you can't get down to do a body weight squat to this degree? Or what if you just don't feel comfortable doing a body weight squat? That's where the bench comes in. And in this scenario, rather than using this as a tool to advance the difficulty of the exercise, in this situation with what I'm going to call a pause squat, pause, right? Just like you push pause on a video player. What we're going to do here is we're going to pause the movement, and then you're going to squat back up. So we're going to use this as a way of catching ourselves. And this is taking the momentum out of the movement to make us more efficiently contract and focus on the muscles that are going to help us stand back up. Now, you may laugh at this, but why is this so important, especially from a functional standpoint and as we age? Well, many individuals as they age have difficulty getting off the toilet. Well, this is simply the same thing. You're sitting there, you're paused, and you want to stand back up, right? And so if you're a bit older, you don't have the muscle strength, you don't have the coordination, and you need something, you're worried that you're going to fall when you go down and try to do a squat, put the bench under you. This is also where you can put a chair under you. I don't recommend doing this with the couch because it's too soft. You want something that's more firm, so that way you can push back up. Right? You sit down, you pause, you stop your momentum, you push back up. You sit down, you pause, you stop your momentum, you push back up. And the same mechanics apply here as what we talked about before. You're pushing flat through the foot, through the entire foot, not just pushing out on the toes, not just sitting overly back on the heels. You're pushing through the entire foot and driving yourself back up. So just quite simply, just like that. That's all we're doing right there. And those will be a workout. You get a couple of those in, a couple of sets of those, again, trying to work in that range of anywhere from 10 to 15 reps here. You'll find that those are going to get the old legs fired up pretty quick. Well, I'm not laying here because I'm worn out at the end of my workout. I'm laying here because I want to share with you one of probably the best exercises to implement if you start working with the bench. And you can do this on the floor. You can do this across an exercise ball. There's all kind of variations on this. I tend personally to do this more across the bench, but this is known as a reverse hyperextension. And so if you think of a hyperextension as you're extending back, well, instead we're going to do the reverse now, and we're going to bring the lower body up, and we're going to extend the lower body. And so the way we do that, get a firm grip up on the bench somewhere. You can grab at the very end, you can grab underneath. Either way works fine, whatever keeps you stable. And you're just going to take those legs and bring them up. You're going to point those toes back and bring those heels to the ceiling, slowly let it down, and repeat. And let it down. And you're going to find when you do this, you want the hamstrings, you want the glutes, you want the low back, all these muscles through here, all the way down are going to be contracting as you do these exercises. But this is an excellent exercise for the entire posterior part of the body, the entire backside of the body there. This is one of the best exercises for hitting all of those muscles at the same time and building strength and endurance and stability in those muscles. Because again, this is going to do the exact same thing that I mentioned a bit earlier, in that it's going to protect the pelvis, which is going to protect the spine, and you're just not going to run the same risk of injuries when these muscles are strong in keeping those bones stable. It all works in tandem together. And so these are going to be the muscles that you want to focus on. So guys, listen, those are going to be the next step up. You mastered the body weight activities and you're looking for that next progression. The bench, or however you decide to implement some variation of this into your routine, this is going to be that next progression up that can help continue to build your confidence to move you forward into more resistance-oriented activities that we'll be talking about down the road. Hey, I appreciate you listening. If you're looking for more information about how I help my patients, how I work with them to share information about working out, about nutrition, about all facets of health and wellness, go to drarlandhill.com. You'll be able to find out what we do with patients there. And then if you're looking for information about Harvest Hills Ranch, hey, I'm in the home gym here at Harvest Hills Ranch. If you're looking for information about what we do out here at the ranch, how we raise food with uncompromising principles, you can go to harvesthillsranch.com to find out all about that. Until next time, we'll see you soon.